First, a big shout out to Jason for starting this up again. I do way too much speaking these days. It's a really good thing, but it's amazing to see the Toronto tech community alive and well, and lots of exciting companies, coming down the pipeline here. So if you're building a company, awesome. If you're not and thinking about it, get started. Wealthsimple is Canada's fastest growing online investment manager. We're on a mission to totally transform what investing is about from something that for most folks is expensive, scary, and overwhelming, make it really easy, low cost, and totally transparent. It's a pretty tall order in an industry that, as many people know, is completely broken and very hard to get into. The regulation, another piece of advice, maybe first lesson, don't start a regulated business, okay? A little bit about me. So if you want to reach me, at Katchen or mike@wealthsimple.com. Happy to chat anytime. I spent the last 4 years living in the Valley, building a YC startup called 1,000 Memories, which we sold a couple years ago to Ancestry.com. I spent a little bit of time running their Canadian business before leaving to start Wealthsimple, and started my career. Actually, you took me for coffee the very first week of my career at McKinsey & Company, which is a consulting firm here in Toronto. So Jason and I go way back. So I'm going to just walk a little bit through the story about how Wealthsimple got started, because I think this might be helpful to some of you that are thinking about getting started but don't really know where to begin. First and foremost, I think some people mentioned you got to have a problem. You got to have a problem that needs solving, and ideally is something you care about and actually have in your own life. So one is, if you think about investing in the past, you really had two options as an investor. Either you hired someone to do it for you, and this was super expensive. Unless you had a lot of dough, like $250,000 or more, nobody would take you on as a client. And, it was super high touch. You'd have to go meet someone in person. They take you golfing once a year, out to lunch once a quarter. You think about the way we do business today, that's not really, a model that works. Your only other option in the past was to do it yourself. So open up a discount brokerage account online, have the confidence to take all of your life savings and make a few bets. Very few people have that type of confidence. So we think we're solving this massive gap in the industry which sits between these two spaces that offers a wonderfully designed, sophisticated portfolio managed for you so it's really easy, but at a price point that makes sense. And we use technology to rip out all of the kind of back-end stuff that you end up paying for in terms of like retail spaces and all the rest of it as a client. So now back to the lessons. So this is the very first version of Wealthsimple. Okay, so someone was talking about they're looking for a technical developer or someone, I get that a lot from a lot of business people that have great ideas. This is the first version of our product. I built it in Excel in 3 hours. And basically what it was is a portfolio construction tool that said, hey, come tell us a little bit about yourself, so your age, your income, type of risk profile you had. It spat out a set of instructions about how to go build a portfolio. I built it in 3 hours. I sent it to 10 friends. People said, I dig it, totally like it. But unless you did performance tracking for me, not really going to use it. It's not that helpful. So cool thing, one, built a product in 3 hours, sent it to 10 people, already had some validation and feedback that people kind of liked it but needed some extra stuff to make it useful. Version 2, wasn't a company at the time, it was a product, we called it Steady Up. And basically, super simple web app that gave you monthly instructions, the same as the Excel file we built. The only thing we added was portfolio tracking. So it actually told you how you were doing on a regular basis once you updated on kind of what your performance was like. Feedback we got after 50 people started using Steady Up was, hell, great, but I still have to do the trading for myself. Won't you just do it for me? And so that's kind of the second big major piece of feedback that we learned, and the major input into version 3, which is Wealthsimple. And Wealthsimple, we believe is actually the solution to this problem of how to make investing really easy for people. And what it is smart investing, a totally simplified experience, so you don't have to do any of the work. We make the whole thing really easy, and dedicated support. People still wanted an advisor. I, with those first two versions, was the advisor. But in this model, people wanted someone that they could talk to, get actual financial planning advice and support when they needed it. A business model that we could actually make money off of. The first two were just kind of fun for friends. Here we charge for managing your assets, but at a ridiculously low fee, and making it really accessible because people don't have $500,000 to give us. They wanted to start with a much smaller amount, around $5,000 was what we netted out as. We've been lucky since we launched the business. We've had a ton of press and support. We actually just launched 10 weeks ago, so we're very new. This is an ongoing process, and I think one of the big lessons to learn tonight is it's constant iteration is kind of how you get to success with a company. We're doing exceptionally well. So we're 11 weeks old. We're growing at 30% a week. It's incredibly exciting, but one reason I showed this graph is I showed 3 versions of the product. We launch a new version of the product every week, so sometimes several times a week. And these are just several of the iterations and things that we've learned along the way. And you can see they can be as simple as launching something like an Excel spreadsheet. And the thing I'd encourage you to think about as you're building a business, and I'll just skip to the end because I think I'm over time, is build the very simplest MVP you can possibly do. So don't think about you need to go spend 6 months building a development team and really spending it in some box trying to build a product and launching it on the world. Build your Excel spreadsheet. Do it in a couple hours if you can. Put it in front of some people. Learn as much as you possibly can. That'll inform the next iteration. 2 is iterate fast. Use the data as much as you can to iterate and to continue developing the product. That's the only way to crack a problem and make sure you're actually solving something. And 3rd, and this is I think the thing that takes you from cool idea or cool Excel spreadsheet to building an awesome business, build an amazing team. Like honestly, you are nothing but the people you surround yourself with in a startup, and you got to have the right people to actually make something special and that changes the world ideally. A little bit about Wealthsimple. We're hiring if anybody's looking, and you can also, if you choose to try us out, you can get your first 5,000 managed for free if you go to wealthsimple.com. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
So are you regulated by the authorities that you talked about earlier?
Very much so. That's why I say don't start a regulated business. The question was, are we regulated? Yes, we're regulated by the OSC, the Ontario Securities Commission. In fact, all of the provincial regulators across the country. It was about a 6-month process to go through that, and it's very cumbersome and strict. So if you're going to do it, take it seriously. And it's not insurmountable. So if you do have an idea that you do want to do in a regulated space, you can do it. But prepare yourself. It's a totally different animal.
So follow-on question. So did you have, or do you have licensed professionals that are required by these bodies?
Very much so. So
I'll give you $5,000.
yeah. I'll show you very quickly. This is our team. Half our team was actually part of the 1,000 Memories team. So the technology side, we're still working together. Managed to convince them to move to Canada, which was pretty awesome. But you can see Dave Nugent, spent 10 years at RBC managing high net worth. He's kind of our CIO. And then, this is kind of our advisory team, which includes Professor Eric Kersner, who's the head of our investment committee. He's one of Canada's foremost investment experts. Built the very first ETF in the world in 1989. I think his TA is actually here. He's still head of value investing at Rotman. Incredibly world-renowned investment expert who actually builds the portfolios on our behalf. Yeah, some great technology folks. If anybody knows the tech community here, David Ossip, Dan DeBow, pretty iconic folks in the community. Anything else? Yeah.
How did you go about hiring? How did you put your team together initially?
Yeah, so, most of our team comes from 1,000 Memories, so my last startup. I think one thing, I'd encourage you to think about when you look to hire is, have you worked with other people in the past that you absolutely love working with? Sometimes all they need to quit their jobs and come work with you is a dream and some hope of making something cool. But, that's a great place to start if you already know you work well with someone. Otherwise, come to events like this. It's great to meet new people. Brainstorm, think about new ideas that you could collaborate on. I encourage you to take these opportunities to meet as many people as possible. You never know where the serendipity could happen and you could meet someone that could be a partner in your business. Yeah?
Are you different from Wealthfront?
So great question. So question is, how are we different from Wealthfront, which is a company doing something very similar to us in the States? So a few different ways. Biggest way is we actually believe advice is really important. So unlike a totally self-help model, you get a dedicated advisor. We call it your wealth concierge. You don't pay anything for it, but you still get access to someone that as you need it, as you have questions around, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house, how should I think about this, or insurance. Investments is just one small piece of someone's complete financial picture. We give you someone that can actually support you through all of those decisions. Yeah?
This someone, is that a real person or is it a script?
It's a real person that's licensed with the, the regulatory bodies.
So you can't do a script instead, which might be better.
So there's a lot that we can automate in terms of self-help tools, but there's still a little bit of an emotional factor in the way people relate to their money. So having a coach and someone that can help you with these things is actually quite powerful. And I know I'm out of time, so I'm going to stop there. Thanks, guys.
I'll be here all night.
Yeah.